Hello and welcome to Take 10, Leadership Series podcast with Y CEO Cameron Corder and myself, Jasmine Bullard. We're excited to have you join us for 10 meaningful minutes as we sit down with Leadwell CEO John Kidwell to discuss command and control versus people-centered leadership. We hope you'll take notes and gain as much as we did.
Hey, welcome to another episode of our Leadership Series. I'm Cameron Corder, and I'm joined with Jasmine Bullard today, and we're going to talk with John Kidwell, CEO of Leadwell. We're going to talk about command and control and versus people-centered leadership. So, John, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, I love this topic.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jazz.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I love this topic, and I'm so excited to hear your thoughts on it, and just so thankful that you're sharing with us today. If you could start, tell us about Leadwell.
Yeah, well, thank you to the both of y'all, Cam and Cleveland County Y, longtime friends. So fun to be back on the Leadership Series. At Leadwell, kind of in a nutshell, we work with mission-driven organizations. We help them create cohesive leadership teams. We help them upskill their managers, and we help them create thriving workplaces. And we do that through training, through offsites, through coaching, and through an employee engagement platform that we have to help with those things.
Man, that's great. You do a great job. I've had you work with some of my team. And so, yeah, when you said your little greeting there, it's like a radio host, long-time listener, first-time caller, but you're long-time listener, second-time
guest. That's right.
You may be the first person that's been a recall, you did so good that you're second-time guest.
I don't know how I feel about the recall. Like the lettuce just got recalled, so but I'm taking it. I'm putting it into my introduction bio. The first time, second time callback for the Leadership Series, so it's in there.
Kind of describe and explain for people listening. What's command and control, and how does it contrast with kind of people-centered leadership?
Man, like this, I mean, this is one of the things, right? Like every single one of us either has a manager that we can go back to and say, oh, I love this person. They were just so great. Or, oh, I had this really bad boss. This person, I'm never going to do it like them. And so kind of if we look at like, how do people describe these things? Typically, command and control is much more associated with a directive style, a hierarchical, bureaucratic, people do things because this is what so-and-so says that we have to do. And on the flip side of that, or just alternatively, people-centered really focuses in and around, and they do a lot of communication around that style with you're focusing on the individual's well-being, that you're focusing on growth, that you're focusing on empowerment. And it's kind of the old adage of which one is it going to be and which one do you get? And I think what's so interesting is that if you and I went and we started Googling leadership, we would find that the definitions that we use actually reinforce more of the command and control style than an influence-based, purpose-driven approach that's centered on people. We use words like a leader is the one who commands a group, an organization, or a country, and it is the office of, which kind of all of a sudden says like, oh, I got to earn something to be a leader. And then once I earn it, like it means I get to tell other people what to do, instead of it being something that regardless of whether you work at the front desk, whether you are a volunteer, or whether you are the CEO of the organization, like if you take an influential approach, well, then it changes the game to be much less about status, position, much more about service, purpose, relationship.
That's awesome. Why do you think there's been a shift more toward people-centered leadership, especially in recent years?
I have a question for you, Jasmine. Would you prefer if somebody just told you what to do, or if they asked you, hey, what do you think is best in this scenario?
Absolutely the latter.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what all of us want every single time. And so I think if we if we look at those two things, kind of command and control and people-centered leadership, it really comes down to a mindset and an approach. And every single one of us as a leader, we get to decide which one we're going to go into. And there's pros and cons on both sides. I can't say this for certain, but if the three of us were in a brand new building and there was a crisis, or we needed to figure out the bathroom or the fire alarm is going off, I don't know that any of us would be extremely upset when somebody just very loudly, very clearly, very assertively starts telling us what to do to get out of the building, to say, you need to take a left, you need to take a right, then you need to go do this. There are circumstances where a much more directive approach is extremely helpful. The trouble is that as we play that out over the long course, those often work best in very kind of crisis oriented, very kind of stress induced and inducing situations. And it's a very short term play because we start to exhaust the motivation and the ability of our team. Whereas if you take that other approach, more of a people-centered approach where it's much more holistic, saying we have a purpose, is bigger than any single one of us. And frankly, that purpose, that just cause that we have is so important that it's important that we treat each other in accordance with that just cause. If we use the why, for instance, to strengthen the foundation of community, to be a place that helps people thrive physically, emotionally, spiritually. Well, if that's our just cause, if that's the purpose that we are after, then it starts to influence how we then treat the people, because they're a part of that service and a part of that bigger puzzle. And so kind of tying it back into the motivation and ability and this mindset shift to, I'm going to play a long-term game. I'm going after this as a more holistic approach. I'm looking at this as, how do I engage individuals so that they are motivated, so that they have the drive to be able to continue the task ahead of us, so that I build the ability and the capacity, not just by telling people, which means I always got to keep telling people, but by giving clarity, inviting them into making decisions, allowing them to change the course of some of the activities that we do, as long as we are moving towards that purpose that we're trying to achieve. It completely changes the game, and it is one where the motivation and the ability of the team is inexhaustible at that place, because it's kind of, you're fueling them while they're fueling your customer and your business, and each of you are working together towards something bigger than yourselves.
That's great. Coming from a sports background, growing up, I had coaches that told me what to do. And so like a lot of my leadership in my career, I've been that command and control. But can you be successful leading through command and control? Or do you know successful leaders that are command and control leaders?
I mean, I think we've seen individuals that
I know some wise that their leaders are command and control. Hit this number, do this, and they're very, by the numbers, very successful YMCAs.
For sure. And I think you keyed in on one of the really key indicators is just how are you defining success? So I think that is one of them. And so if the benchmark and if the success measure is for a given period of time, I am going to produce X in people served. I'm going to produce X in dollar amount. I'm going to produce X number of my ideas getting through to completion. If I am going to earn a certain title in a specific time frame, then perhaps you will find success, and you can figure out how to be successful in that style. And if we define success differently, perhaps just a little bit more holistically, and say something like, success for me is that I am able to engage in the volunteer activities that I choose to, that I have a healthy, thriving, and growing family, including marriage, that I'm able to maintain 3 to 5 very close, intimate friend relationships, that I am able to retain my team members at a specific level, while also earning and growing the business at a specific pace, now all of a sudden I have different success measures that will change my behavior and my actions to start achieving more of those success measures.
So do I lose some of the structure and accountability though toward my people if I'm more people centered?
Thanks for taking 10 with us. Follow up soon for part 2 to continue the conversation. As always, like, subscribe, and comment below because we grow best when we grow together.